Right, ladies and gentlemen, MrSotko here. Welcome back to the channel. Got a whole bunch of good crypto news stuff for you today. And the first thing that I want to talk about is this article that's been going around that is just, no, not at all. So Andrew Yang, a Democratic presidential candidate, happened to be on a podcast recently where someone suggested that hypothetically, he give out his universal basic income paid in Bitcoin as opposed to the US dollar. So in case you're not following this person or this topic at all, Andrew Yang, the Democratic presidential candidate, is planning to, his whole thing of his campaign, if you will, is to beat the AI first before they all take our jobs, etc., and give everybody $1,000, and it's supposed to go back into the economy. And now I'm not trying to argue this at all. I'm not trying to get too political here, but basically 50% of America is like, yeah, probably $1,000 a month would be great. And then the other half is like, no, that's socialism or it's going to mess up the economy. Again, not here to argue that, but it's supposed to be $1,000 a month for everybody over the age of 18. Now, in my opinion, if that were to happen, I'm not saying it is or it isn't or it's a good thing. Again, kind of want to steer clear of that. I think a lot of people would put some money into Bitcoin, and I think Bitcoin would just benefit greatly from that. However, he was on a podcast recently and explained that his UBI is a policy in which every citizen gets a certain amount of money to meet their basic needs. He said he would like to give $1,000 to each U.S. citizen above the age of 18. And when he was on this podcast, somebody had asked him about that with Bitcoin. And because of the way he answered, everybody is taking it extremely like that is a yes on his point. And it's just like, yeah, he's going to give out Bitcoin for $1,000 a month. First of all, it's like $230 billion or something like that, some outrageous hundreds of billions of dollars a month to all U.S. citizens if that were to be the case. That's pretty insane. And if that was paid in Bitcoin, we would have a major problem. Well, Bitcoin would go way up in price, that's for sure. But we would have sort of a problem. Because right now the US and all governments have already a system in place to pay people out in money. And of course, that's just in fiat. And it's an easy system to digitally put it into your bank. If Bitcoin was the case, we'd have to go onto exchanges, buy a ton as a country, like hundreds of billions of dollars a month as a country. How you would even get that sort of liquidity, I don't know. And then it would rack up the price as the countries are buying it so that they can, as the United States at least, is giving it so we could give out UBI, $1,000 a month to each person in Bitcoin. And that would pump the price of Bitcoin something fierce. In the first month, it would be $300 billion at least in terms of the market cap that would have to be put into it. And then that would mean that the next month, the U.S. would have to buy another $230 billion to give another. It would just get out of control. And then people would be cashing out, and it would be worth so much that the actual U.S. money supply would dwindle, and it would kind of be chaos. Now that's great for Bitcoin utopians, but it would be really chaotic. It just wouldn't work. Trust me.
Over time.
Have you thought about? I mean,
so here's the video.
Hypothetical, UBI could essentially be universal Bitcoin income.
No.
That instead of the money being taxed. Essentially, it could be.
It's not going to be taxed in the first place. It's going to be $1,000 a month, like straight to you. That's his idea. So it's not going to be taxed in the first place.
Based on a hard asset like a Bitcoin.
Yeah.
And Satoshi's is, you.
Yeah. So that didn't mean anything. So let me just tell you a little secret of politicians and public speaking, right? So when you're any kind of official in any kind of capacity and somebody actually asks you a question, have you ever noticed whenever you ask a politician a question or see it on TV or etc., you could be like, hey, what do you plan on doing about the firearm crisis in the United States? And they're not going to say, okay, well, first I'd like to ban this, or I would like to control this, or I would like to do nothing, right? They don't say it either way, whether they're going to do nothing or they're going to do a sweeping ban or something like that. They say nothing. Instead, they go into some kind of story and they're like, well, that's the problem here, so blah, blah, blah. And they start actually going into a story rather than actually answering your question. And then that way they could still please everybody, because you have the Republicans in the United States, and then you got the Democrats. And you got these little things in between that never actually work. Like, it wasn't like that Newt Gingrich, or no, who was that guy that always ran as the Libertarian or Green Party or something like that in the 90s? I don't remember. Ross Perot or something? I can't remember. But there's this other party that just never goes anywhere, and like if you run as that candidate, like you're just not going to get elected. Period. So it's just the way the United States operates. I hate to say it, wake up call. So there's only two, and Republicans typically. Older individuals typically like Republicans because they're not going to take your money as much, even though they start more wars. I think, I don't know, but you know, there's two crowds, and you can only get one or the other. So like that's the reason why you either go Democrat or you go Republican. So you're trying to appeal to this base, and then Democrats try to appeal to this base. And so like when you're running, you need to get that whole side on you, and so you can't ever answer a question. Exactly. So no, this is not going to happen. $230 billion pumped into Bitcoin. We would all love it. But no, there's no liquidity for that. You borderline run out of Bitcoin.
Can fraction out Satoshis, 100 million units to people.
I love where your head is. Because I learned a lot from my friends in the cryptocurrency community around some of these principles. And when you start to think, it's one reason why just about everyone in the cryptocurrency community loves the idea of universal basic income or the freedom to.
So again, didn't say yes or no. So why everybody's posting these articles that he said yes to Bitcoin, or it's even questioned in the first place, is just outrageous. It's just because he said yeah at first, and I think that was a wrong move. I think it was pandering. I think if he immediately said no, it would put a sour taste and potentially in the cryptocurrency industry's mouth. And you know, if you're into Bitcoin, you might be like, well, no, he said no right off the bat. But if you say yeah, and then afterwards you don't make any kind of promise, so it's just not going to happen. So I hope everybody gets off this train pretty quick, whether you like Andrew Yang or not. He's just playing. He's playing the politician game and just sort of vaguely answering things. And again, you go into a story. So she asked a specific question, and he did say yeah at the beginning, but y'all know it was kind of very hollow. And then afterwards, he just says a story. She's like, well, yeah, you could divide it up into 100 million Satoshis. You could divide it into Satoshis, which really doesn't have anything to do with $1,000. Whatever. But and then he just starts going, what I learned from cryptocurrency industry, and he just goes off into something else. So, yeah, get off the train. Moving on here. Coinbase Pro adds Dash, but excludes New York and UK traders. So why is this important? Well, first of all, because Dash is going on Coinbase. Coinbase is a pretty big exchange. When anything goes on Coinbase, typically has some kind of pump before it. Usually before it, whereas like other times it's like after when it gets added to exchanges because Coinbase insider trading. But what is important about this is other articles with this as well, and what they say about it. So Dash, a coin with optionally anonymous transactions, will finally be added to Coinbase Pro. The listing of asset, however, does not promise a launch on Coinbase. Usually assets end up being added to the wider market platform, so offering to retail investors, etc. So Coinbase Pro has stated that it will not offer the anonymous features of the coin, meaning unknown entities will not be able to deposit nor withdraw anonymously, which makes a lot of sense. And I'm thinking lately that there is sort of an attack on privacy coins, because the beginning of 2019 was looking, I remember my a couple of friends of mine, other YouTubers, we were sort of, and anybody into crypto, we were sort of guessing that 2019 would be the year of the privacy coin. Because after 2018, and 2017, people started to realize, hey, I'm getting taxed a lot for all my crypto trades. So people started to realize, hey, like I can go onto a non-KYC exchange, and just, or even a KYC exchange and just do a bunch of Monero trades or something like that, and try to get away with not having to pay any kind of trades in some way, shape, or form. So sure, people could figure it out. And so that was the first indication of that. And then the second indication was that we had many privacy-centric coins come out at the beginning of 2018, or at least at the end of 2018, either way. So we had Beam, we had Grin, we had Veilcoin, and probably many others. So those are the three that I remember. Those are the, Grin had that super hype. It was started off at $200 and then just immediately went to basically like $10. Beam, honestly didn't do so well. Honestly, mining it wasn't particularly profitable, at least for me. And Veil just sort of slipped in under the radar a little bit. I think Veil was a really great coin, but unfortunately the developers did not focus on user friendliness. You had to use all kinds of commands in the wallet. Every few days you had to upgrade the wallet. You had to organize the proof of stake coins into each other. You sort of had to aggregate them all the time. There was no like automatic aggregation or anything in the wallet. So I think that's where they messed up. I think that's where a lot of crypto developers mess up, is that they don't make things as absolutely easy and friendly as possible. We seemingly, if you get a core wallet of, let's say, Litecoin, Vertcoin, just name a coin, Ethereum, just get any kind of core wallet, and you'll start to notice that there's this, even on new coins, any kind of coins wallet, you'll start to notice really quick that they're all virtually the same wallet. They all have the same everything to them, and nobody decides to make anything much easier than the rest. They all just sort of use the same template of a wallet and then just slap their coin's logo on there and say, like, this is our coin, even though it's a different blockchain or something like that. And it seems like that's been happening a lot. And so it was reason to believe that 2019 was going to be the year of the privacy coin. And I think exchanges and possibly governments are fighting back, and they don't want that at all. They start to realize, hey, we can track Bitcoin. As long as you sign up to an exchange, we can track your Bitcoin anywhere it goes. But that becomes much harder with something like Monero or Zcash, etc., where you can't use the privacy features. Another exchange that did that as well, OKX Korea drops 5 privacy coins. So they announced early on Monday that it is to delist 5 cryptos that provide extra privacy features for users. From October 10th, the exchange will no longer support Monero, Dash, Zcash, Horizon, and Super Bitcoin. I don't know why you're supporting Super Bitcoin anyway. That's the first time I've ever heard of it. So welcome to crypto. But I'm sure it's just an S coin. Is the S for shit? Probably is. Anyway, so sort of an attack. So if you have a lot of these privacy coins, I would be careful where, they may be delisted from exchanges coming up. This might be a sign of things to come. So if you have a lot of Zcash or Monero, Dash, etc., any kind of privacy coin, I would watch. I'm sure a lot of non-KYC, the smaller exchanges, won't even bother to get rid of these or anything because they never comply anyway. But some of the major, like OKX, Coinbase, maybe Binance will end up starting with this soon. Binance US is coming pretty soon, and they're only going to have like 6 assets. So I'm sure they aren't going to have Monero. I'm sure there's going to be some regulations against that sort of thing. So interesting. So moving on here to some good news, and yet some not as amazing news. So BitPay launches support for Ethereum. Now, don't get me wrong, I don't like BitPay. BitPay is like the PayPal of the cryptocurrency world. All they do is just accept a payment on behalf of somebody else and then give them that payment or give them fiat in return, which is, don't get me wrong, a great service, but their fees are pretty egregious, and they can shut people down just like PayPal. So if you like go to Newegg and they accept Bitcoin because they did, and then they didn't, and then they did, I think they still do, it's through BitPay. So if they're like, okay, $500 please for this graphics card, and you send them $500 in Bitcoin, BitPay accepts it first, then tells Newegg, hey, we got the Bitcoin, we're going to send you the money. It's okay, send them the product. So that's basically what they do. Otherwise, if you were to just send Bitcoin directly to Newegg, they might not know that this product has been fulfilled until they actually receive it in their wallet, whereas BitPay can just do that for them. So again, BitPay is kind of useless in the fact that you could just receive Bitcoin yourself, but it does provide somewhat of a service, ? I don't like it. The largest global blockchain payment provider today announced its customers will soon be able to safely, securely, compliantly, and with a high fee, I added that one, accept Ethereum. Businesses using BitPay for payment processing can accept Ethereum for purchases without the need for any integration or enhancements. Additionally, wallet users will be able to store and use Ethereum in a BitPay wallet, and BitPay prepaid Visa card holders can top up debit cards, which, again, the prepaid Visa cards with Bitcoin on them and stuff makes no sense, but I suppose we got to move on. So anyway, That's good, as you know, you didn't really have a lot of ways to spend your Ethereum except directly. So a lot of these third-party payment processors, etc., didn't really use Ethereum. So this is good. This is moving on. It's not amazing news. I don't think Ethereum's going to pump from it, but it's just at least now you can spend your Ethereum through the devil called BitPay. Good job. So moving on here, Bitcoin hash rate to hit a milestone 100 quintillion for the first time, or basically 100 million terahash. So you can see we didn't quite hit that. We hit 98 million terahash. And this means that everybody is still extremely bullish on Bitcoin, even though we haven't gone anywhere in a while. We've been staying at the 10,000 mark for quite some time, but it is profitable for everybody with these major mining operations, and they are turning them on as much as possible. So a record in itself, the number is set to reach 100 quintillion for total hashes, I suppose. For the first time in Bitcoin's history, as Cointelegraph has explained, hash rate refers to the overall, According to RT host Max Kaiser report, and Max Kaiser Kook report. I like Max Kaiser, he's okay. Price traditionally follows hash rate in bull runs. Now he says it is a fiat currency which will start feeling the strain due to Bitcoin's success. Although he's been saying basically that the world is going to end every single day. That's pretty much his MO. He's kind of like an Alex Jones kind of character, except for finance and less gay frogs. Whereas, like, if things were going well, they wouldn't have a job. You know what I mean? Like, imagine Alex Jones and he didn't have anything to talk about. He said, well, today, you know, Arbor Day occurred and people planted a bunch of trees. The government's probably looking over us and seeing what we're doing well on Arbor Day. I don't know. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Is that a terrible Alex Jones impersonation? I think it really is. However, you get what I'm saying there. Max Kaiser, he's always got to say bad things. But Bitcoin hash rate set to break 100 quintillion. This will start to become a problem for fiat as data centers dedicated to maintaining fiat systems are pulled into the Bitcoin black hole of true value, he said. I don't know what that means. The pace of change in Bitcoin likewise did not go unnoticed by Lightning Torch Relay organizer Hodlnut, who on Twitter noted the metric measured just 6 quintillion in September 2017. So, again, Max Kaiser Kook report puts it in a funny way. However, basically, it just means that people are extremely bullish, and they're just putting tons and tons of money into it. And when you put that much money into it, you're not willing to sell it any lower, and you're kind of setting these steps where you can't really go any lower. Sure, you could liquidate all your miners, but that's a problem. That's not as easy. You're not going to get a lot of money for them. So, you know, you kind of have to do this step, and you know, we don't really want to go any lower when so many people are mining, or they're just going to turn them off and nobody's making any money like that. So continuing onward, but it's also going to mean a lot of competition as well. So when you turn on your miner and you're not making too much, well, it's because people turned on like 600,000 miners recently in the past like few months. So the Bitcoin hash rate there, coin market cap, 263 billion market cap. Again, we're still just sitting at like 10,200, 10,300. We were at 10,003, and we dumped about $150 recently. But everything still seems to be holding in there real strong. Regardless of that dump, it actually looked like altcoins fared a little bit better in this case, which is sort of almost a flippening, if you will, in the sense that Bitcoin lately for the past couple of months has been doing way better than altcoins, and the dominance still extremely high, but that it would go up unusually higher than altcoins would, and go down unusually higher as well. And whereas altcoins were just suffering and still continuing dropping. But things are looking pretty good right now. Not too much hype in the industry, though. So we do have backed futures. They're going to open up. They're going to open up their actual daily and monthly futures trading. I think September 26th. So we'll have to see what that does with the price, because they did start their warehouse collecting of Bitcoin, where if you're an institutional investor, you could put it in their warehouse, or you could deposit it rather, and that really didn't do too much. I think we saw like a little explosion, and then it didn't really do anything. So we'll have to see if back futures actually has an effect, because there's been so much hype with it. It'll be disappointing if it doesn't. But again, what I always like to say though is that everybody's really bullish on backed futures. Aside from the fairy tale that it doesn't exist because they continuously postpone backed futures itself. But most people are typically really bullish and they think it's going to do extremely well for the industry. Well, first of all, they do have to buy up a bunch of Bitcoin to give it out or receive it to give it out. So that is taking demand away from the actual other exchanges, etc. But is it going to really raise the price a lot? I don't know. One thing you got to remember about backed futures that I like to remind everybody is that it is futures. So that means that you can short futures, you can long futures, and they might have their own price discovery. But at the same time, if somebody puts in a long for Bitcoin and then pumps a bunch of exchanges and it pumps the overall price of Bitcoin, they complete their long. Or if they really want to short it on backed futures, they can set a short and they can dump a ton of other Bitcoin that they bought with cash somewhere else or on exchanges and dump it, and then fulfill their short. So it's futures regardless. So it doesn't. It's not necessarily inherently going to help the price of Bitcoin, as when futures come out, typically things actually dump, like CBOE, CBE futures, whenever they picked up like gold and uranium and stuff like that, and even Bitcoin, it just dumps pretty much 2 days later. But that's all I have for you guys today. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, like the video, share the video, helps me out a lot. My social media in the description below. And as usual, I will see you guys next time.